the master map. Before we get into the details, let me hand you the whole map in one picture, because once you see it, this entire lesson clicks. When someone owns property, the law asks, how is that ownership structured? And it splits in two. First, ownership in severalty, just one owner. Second, concurrent ownership, two or more owners at the same time. And concurrent ownership comes in three forms: tenancy in common, joint tenancy, and community property. That's the whole tree. Two questions decide everything. How many owners? And if there's more than one, what are the rules between them? Ownership in severalty. Let's start with the simplest. Ownership in severalty. Plain English, one owner, just one. Now here's the trap that catches everyone. The word comes from sever, meaning to keep separate and apart. So even though severalty sounds like several people, it means the exact opposite: sole ownership. You'll also hear it called separate or sole ownership. Remember it like this: severalty equals solo. Natural versus artificial person. Here's a twist on severalty that the exam loves. The single owner doesn't have to be a human. There are two kinds of legal persons: a natural person, that's a human being, and an artificial person, a legal entity, like a business, a city, or a state government. So when a city owns its parks, its parking lots, city hall, the library, it owns all of that in severalty because the city is legally treated as a single artificial person. One owner, that just happens to be an entity, not a person. Concurrent ownership. Now the other branch, concurrent ownership. This means more than one person holds an ownership interest in the same property at the same time. We call them co-owners or concurrent owners. Washington recognizes three forms, and honestly, the whole rest of this lesson is just comparing them. Tenancy in common, open to anyone, no survivorship, joint tenancy, anyone, but it has survivorship, and community property, married couples only. Keep those three in your head. Tenancy in common, first form, tenancy in common, and the key word is default. If co-owners don't say what kind of ownership they want, the law makes them tenants in common automatically. It's the fallback. Three rules. 1. Shares can be unequal. Bob 50%, Andy 20%, Sam 30%. 2. There's no right of survivorship, so a co-tenant's share can be willed to their heirs. And 3. Each tenant can sell, will, or mortgage their own interest without anyone's permission. So if Bob dies, his share goes to his children. It doesn't vanish, and it doesn't go to the other owners. Remember it as, I can do what I want with my slice. The partition concept. What if co-owners want out or just can't get along? That's where partition comes in. To partition means to divide co-owned property into separate pieces, each then owned solo in severalty. The friendly version, Andy, Bob, and Carmen, agree to split their 1 acre into 3 pieces, each owning one. The hostile version, they can't agree, so a co-tenant files a suit of partition, asking a judge to divide it. And if the land physically can't be split, say it's a single house, the judge orders it sold, and each owner gets a share of the money based on their ownership percentage. Joint tenancy, Form 2. Joint tenancy, the survivorship one. Here, 2 or more people are joint and equal owners, and the headline feature is the right of survivorship. When a joint tenant dies, their interest does not go to their heirs. It automatically passes to the surviving joint tenants. This creates the big exam distinction. A joint tenant can sell their interest while they're alive, but they cannot will it at death. Survivorship overrides any will. Think of it as last one standing wins. The 4 unities. To even create a joint tenancy, you need 4 things present at the same time. The 4 unities. The memory device is T-tip. T, time, all owners get their interest at the same moment. T, title, all receive it through the same deed or will. I, interest, each owns an equal share, 50-50 for two people, never 60-40. And P, possession, each has the right to possess the entire property, not just a portion. And that last one matters. Two joint tenants don't each own half, they both own all of it. T-tip, time, title, interest, possession. Broken unities. Here's the consequence of the exam tests. In Washington, all 4 unities are essential. If even one is missing at the start or gets broken later, the joint tenancy either never formed or it's destroyed. And the owners drop down to tenancy in common. Classic example, Alice deeds 50% to Bill now, then deeds the other 50% to Chris 2 months later. Different times, so the unity of time is broken. Bill and Chris are not joint tenants. They're tenants in common. Break one unity and you lose the joint tenancy. Community property. Form 3. Community property, the married couple one. This co-ownership exists only between 2 married people, and Washington is one of just 9 community property states. The core presumption, anything a married person acquires during the marriage is community property. Owned equally, a 50-50 undivided interest each, and a quick bonus for the exam. Some states like Oregon let married couples hold title as tenants by the entirety. That's like joint tenancy with a right of survivorship. But only a married couple can create it. Separate property, but not everything a married person owns is community. The exception is separate property. Property is separate if it's any of 3 things. Owned before the marriage, acquired by gift or inheritance during the marriage, or purchased with separate funds, including any profit, appreciation, rent, or interest that grows from separate property. The memory trick spells B.I.G before marriage, inheritance, or gift, and grown from separate funds. If it's B.I.G, it's separate, not community. The Joinder Requirement. Finally, the highest value point in this whole lesson, the Joinder Requirement. To sell, encumber, or list community real property, both spouses' signatures are required. Both must join the transaction. That's joinder. So the mortgage, the listing agreement, and the purchase agreement all need both signatures. One exception, transferring community personal property, like household furniture, doesn't need the other spouse's consent. And here's the pro tip. Always have the seller's spouse sign, even if the seller swears it's separate property. If they're wrong, that signature releases any community interest. You're covered either way.